To preface this review, I'd like to say that I haven't played Magic the Gathering since the 5th grade, and it's something I never thought I'd want to come back to. But that being said, Duels of the Planeswalkers 2012 is a game worthy of a relapse, as it takes nearly all of the fun elements of the classic fantasy card game and wraps them up neatly in a nice 800 Microsoft point package. This game's available on Xbox 360, PS3, and PC, all for around $10. For those of you whom are not familiar with Magic the Gathering, it's a competitive strategy card game based in a fantasy world. The original card game came back out in the 90s, and I should probably own stock in Wizards of the Coast given how much of my not-so-hard-earned money I shelled out for these cards. Back then, however, I wasn't so much interested in playing the actual game, it was more of a collecting thing for me, as I was solely interested in the apparent rarity of a card or the impressiveness of its artwork. This was partly because I never quite knew exactly how to play the game. It's full of many different card types and enchantments and spells, and it's hard for 5th graders to wrap their heads around. But Magic the Gathering gives off the air of complexity when in reality it's pretty simple. And that's where I think this game really succeeds. It filters out all that player error and expected complications and leaves you with a fun, addicting, and streamlined strategy experience that's far more fast-paced and accessible than the physical card game could ever hope to be. Now, I'm not going to go into detail on how to play the game, but here are the basics. You start the game with 7 cards. Each turn that you have, you can play 1 land card, which acts as your mana. By tapping mana, you're able to summon creatures and spells and help you defeat your enemy. Now, in Duel of the Planeswalkers 2012, you can choose between 10 different decks, each with their own advantages and disadvantages. You have monocolored decks and multicolored decks, but all the decks are reasonably balanced, and no one deck really stands out as the clear ultimate deck. This game, unlike its predecessor, has deck customization, but not deck building. This means you won't be able to build your deck completely from scratch, but you can switch out old, less powerful cards for better cards as you unlock them. I suppose it's a little disappointing that this game doesn't have full deck building, but it would be pretty much impossible to keep balance between decks if everyone could really fully customize their decks. Also, Wizards doesn't want to fully recreate the Magic experience with this game, they still want people to buy the actual cards. And really, the balance is one of the things about this game that really impresses me. I wouldn't say that the Magic card game is known for its balance between decks, but the developers of this game somehow managed to create 10 decks that each have the ability to hold up against any of the other 9 decks. For a $10 downloadable game, this game has a good amount of content. There are 3 campaigns, one of which can be played multiplayer. The Archenemy campaign is a series of 3-on-1 matches against ridiculously overpowered adversaries. Your opponent can use scheme cards, which are really thinly veiled attempts at making the game harder. In any of the 3 campaigns, every time you win a match you unlock a new card for whatever deck you're using. There are also short challenge missions which are presented like puzzles in that there's really only one way to solve each situation. And of course, if you're lucky enough to find someone online to play with, you can take part in multiple multiplayer variants. Although I have had some trouble finding opponents on Xbox Live. To sum up, it's Magic the Gathering. This game has all the fantasy strategy goodness that you're yearning for, and you don't have to visit that jerk at the comic store to get it. And better yet, it's only $10. So if you're like me and you want your Magic the Gathering fix, but you don't have the time, money, or inclination to invest into the card game, then this is your game. Toodles.